trying to get my equipment to work, but I think that it might finally be figured out, and I thank Jesus for that. And that brings me to what I would like to talk about here today is the verse I'm going to focus on comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, and it's verse 17. It's where God says for us to pray without ceasing. In all circumstances, give thanks, for this is the will of God for you in Jesus Christ. And what does the Bible mean by pray without ceasing? Well, we can all interpret this in different ways, but to me, I don't think it means that we are to pray all day long and all night long. I think what God is telling us is to always be aware of Him and always be aware of Him in our mind and in our thoughts. So whenever we do have a second, that time should be well spent, which should be spent seeking God in prayer for whatever it is that we're praying and believing God to work in and to answer. That's like this equipment fail issue that I had. It really took a toll on me because God called me to do these podcasts. He provided all this equipment for me to do this, and He gave me the strong desire to do it. And whenever I came back from being out of town, nothing worked. And the setup, everything was the same, but nothing would work. The microphones wouldn't connect. Nothing would correlate with one another. And it was really taking a toll on me personally and mentally. And I was trying to figure out, God, what is it are you trying to tell me in the midst of this? What is it that you're wanting me to learn in the middle of all this? And one thing it did teach me was patience. And it did teach me that whenever God was ready for this podcast to start again, that He would allow it to start working again. And everything that has us going here today, it's God. Because there is nothing different that was tried, except all I can say is it was a miracle by God. And God, He decided that whatever He was trying to teach me, which I personally know, but He was saying, okay, you've learned the lesson I was trying to teach you. Now the equipment is working again. And it was very, very stressful, and I was so confused on why God would give me this desire just to simply not allow anything to work. And our thoughts are not His thoughts, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. And what He does call us to do is to have 100% trust and faith in Him. And that is what I finally come to the conclusion, and this actually just happened last night, whenever I was in a church service praying, and I finally just laid it all down at the altar, and I said, okay, God, I give it all to you. I don't know when you're going to allow this to start working again, but I will keep trying everything that I know possibly to do to get it to work, and until you decide that the time is okay for me to start again, then I trust your timing, and I completely trust what it is you're trying to show me in the midst of this. And there's something personally that I have been praying for a family member, and I was just so worked up in my mind over it, and I was like, God, I know that nothing is too hard for you. And God, He healed me from sickness, so I knew that God could take care of this situation too. But it was like that my mind was kind of needed a refresher there. And God, He simply gave that to me by taking this whole cast system completely down. And then, in his perfect timing, he brought it back up. And God, he will always work everything out for his glory. And I give him all the glory for what he was doing. And in the midst of us waiting and praying, we are to learn to listen for his voice, because his voice will be there, and if we learn to listen for it, we will learn to know what his voice sounds like and what he's telling us at that particular time with whatever it is we're being faced with. And so, whatever you're praying for, don't give up on God. Don't give up on him. Keep the faith. And like God finally showed me, he had to remind me of this once again. Lay it all down at the altar. Lay it all down and say, God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I know that you know. And that is all that matters, is that long as he knows what he's doing. And he's God, and God knows all things. And he says that all things will work out for our good to those who love him. And what better promise could he give us than that? So whatever you're praying for, whatever you're believing God for, don't give up on him. Keep the faith and keep believing that God, in his perfect time, he's going to answer your prayer.